Did you know that a woman's body was so toxic that whoever came in contact with her fell ill? This is the story of Gloria Ramirez, also known as the Toxic Woman. Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you don't know what is going on here, I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in the videos. Now, nothing is meant to be insensitive to anyone mentioned or their families, but if you are a sensitive person, I recommend probably turning off of this channel and going somewhere else. Anyway, that being said, let's get on with the video. If you don't know who Gloria Ramirez was, she was a 31-year-old woman from Riverside, California, who died shortly after arriving at the hospital from complications from late stage 4 cervical cancer on the 19th of February 1994. At 8:15 p.m, Gloria was rushed to the emergency room, semi-conscious with heart palpitations, she could hardly breathe, and her blood pressure had dropped. She was just extremely unwell. But apparently, this was not typical of someone who had terminal cervical cancer. Her partner raised the alarm and called an ambulance after she had been vomiting all day. She was apparently a regular to the ER for obvious reasons, so she was made a priority, hooked up to electrolytes and sedated with diazepam, midazolam and lorazepam, then was forced purified air into her lungs. At this stage, everything seemed to be normal, but then the injections of the sedation medicine did not work and she started going into shock. A nurse, Susan Kane, extracted blood from Gloria's arm via a syringe. Kane immediately noticed an odd smell coming from the syringe, an ammonia-like stench. Finding this odd, she gave the syringe to respiratory therapist Maureen Welch, who smelt the syringe too and agreed it was an ammonia-type smell. When Welch passed the syringe onto medical resident Julia Kuczynski, who also agreed it smelt like ammonia, and she noticed manila-coloured particles floating in Gloria's blood sample. At this stage, Kane stood over Gloria and noticed an ammonia and garlic/fruity smell coming from Gloria's mouth. Kane started feeling faint, so she went to leave the room, but fainted. Then both Welch and Kuczynski started feeling faint as well, nauseated and temporarily paralyzed, and both of them fainted. Now there was an emergency to evacuate everyone from the emergency room, including all staff and patients, out into the car park. A secondary trauma team put on hazmat suits and went back into the ER to attend to Gloria. They tried CPR and defibrillators, which they found an oily secretion on her body, but by 8:50 p.m, Gloria had died. They took precautions with her body due to the issues of the staff passing out when they went near Gloria. So they placed Gloria's body in an aluminium casket and took it down to the morgue, where she was placed away from the rest of the bodies. Now the hospital went into damage control and had to treat their own people. The team in the hazmat suits went over the ER with a fine-tooth comb, but didn't find a thing. Susan Kane, Julie Kuczynski, and Maureen Welch and 5 other workers were treated and hospitalized with detoxification happening in the IC unit for roughly 2 weeks. 23 people were also recorded as unwell from that night. Now the dangerous task began, autopsying Gloria's body. Apparently 3 pathologists set up an airtight room to secure it and began their investigations, testing the air quality, Gloria's blood, and tissue samples. The tests came back with nothing abnormal, and nothing could explain why she displayed the symptoms she did when she came in. They came to the conclusion that Gloria died from cardiac arrest brought on by kidney failure due to stage 4 cervical cancer. Now the hospital had to find out what went wrong in the ER, because this could not happen ever again. The family was interviewed to see if Gloria was ingesting anything that they knew of, but they knew of nothing. The coroner worked with the hospital, the toxicology and health department to try and sort this out. They were left scratching their heads as they had never seen anything like this before. Once the investigation was over, the conclusion was that it was mass hysteria and no poisonous gases were found. The nurses involved in the incident were absolutely furious and launched a defamation lawsuit against the hospital after they were told that it was all in their heads. The coroner went into further damage control and sought help from another lab called Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories near San Francisco. They were not medical or toxicology testers, no, they were nuclear weapons makers. Brian Anderson, who was the director, took on the case, so the coroner gave him all of Gloria's samples and the autopsy documentation. When Anderson got investigating, he found that there was traces of dimethyl sulfoxide, which is DMSO, in her system. Apparently, this is used as a painkiller, but the problem here is that it's found in degreasers, which is sold as a gel at hardware stores. This may have been the oily film found on Gloria's body, and this could have caused the blockage in her urinary tract that caused the kidney failure. A combo of the sedatives, oxygen, and defib may have resulted in a chemical reaction in her body, turning it into DMSO4 or dimethyl sulfate in her blood, which crystallized, causing a type of sulfuric acid, which can cause the symptoms experienced by the staff. But this theory was kind of grasping at straws, and why would Gloria be consuming or applying dimethyl sulfoxide? She could have just taken normal painkillers. After nearly 2 months of her body being held, which caused it to become badly decomposed, the family was told that she had died from kidney failure, but they were not buying it and called for an independent pathologist to investigate. Dr. Richard Fukumoto could not determine a cause of death, as Gloria's heart was missing and her other organs were contaminated with feces, and also the syringe was never found either. The family believed that the hospital was covering up something. Anderson allegedly came to the conclusion that Gloria may have been exposed to methylamine, which is the main ingredient in creating methamphetamine, which may have been mistaken in the drip bag or IV bag that was hooked up to give Gloria her fluids. But the most likely answer was, as I stated further back, just an unlikely concoction that caused a chemical reaction. So in a nutshell, Gloria was using DMSO to help with pain. Then it turned into dimethyl sulfone in her system when oxygen was introduced. Then when her blood was extracted and hit the cold air in the hospital from her warm body, it created dimethyl sulfate, which can be lethal. The manila or crystals found in the blood caused the toxic fumes. Allegedly, Lawrence Livermore Labs was able to recreate the steps that created this. Apparently, all symptoms that Gloria had and the staff had were exactly what happened when exposed to this deadly concoction. She may have been okay if she hadn't gone to the ER. Now, this case was insane to research and really hurt my brain trying to understand what could have happened. This was one case that sort of rattled me and got me thinking that maybe it was the hospital's fault, but then I'm sort of thinking, well, what could it have really been their fault if this was, if this was just a normal, straightforward patient who hadn't taken DMSO? Would the outcome have been different? Or, was this just a weird chemical, chain reaction that happened, from these series of events from maybe the staff that Gloria was taking because she was self-administering her, weird stuff to try and help with the pain and the cancer. Please tell me what you think about this case and what you reckon happened. Do you think that the hospital was at fault? Do you think Gloria was half to blame? Do you think something else happened to her? It's definitely weird. And if the ER accidentally set off a chain reaction, a chemical chain reaction, then they would never have known what she was putting in her body to, you know, create this. So yeah, it's definitely fascinating, and I don't think that this case is ever going to be, you know, 100% transparent. There was skepticism by scientists about the reaction, saying it was so unlikely to happen, and others say it can happen, but it takes several hours for symptoms to show in people after being exposed. Some theories also included that she was either self-administering or being fed arsenic by family or a quack doctor, and it apparently gives off a garlic-type odour as well. Gloria was finally buried after 2 months at the Olive Wood Memorial Park in Riverside in an unmarked grave. So yeah, like I said before, let me know what you think about this case. Is there any other information that you know about at all? Please let me know. I really don't know what to make of this, as, you know, I'm not a professional in forensics or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of, if I had to weigh in, I'm thinking that she may have been using alternative things to sort of help her along and probably even try and cure what she had, maybe. I don't know, because a lot of people do tend to do that. And yeah, that's my thoughts about it. But the illustration that I decided to do for this video today was quite a sort of a gruesome one. I'm sort of on the fence with this illustration. Like, it's okay, it's very simple. I didn't put a lot of you know, elements into it, because you know, go watch the last 3 videos if you want to know what I've been going through that's sort of been affecting my art at the moment. I'm not going to explain it anymore in the videos, but I don't know, this image sort of came to me when I was sort of thinking of what was going on, and I made this like weird creature type, half human thing where the skull, the eyeballs are like floating out of the head, and the skin's melting off the skull. The body is like a woman, obviously, because it's got boobs and yeah, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just got some organs hanging out and some organs missing, as in the case, and one of the foot's been cut off, and yeah, there's this toxic stench coming out of this particular being to represent the so-called toxic fumes that the nurses and all the other people experienced when she came into the ER and was treated. But anyway, that's the video wrapped up. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Dislike, couldn't care less. Any interaction with me makes me go higher in the algorithm, makes the algorithm pick me up, and for other people to find me. And you can watch the rest of this video, whatever is left, to see how the illustration turned out. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.